the failures really are what build character. You know, there's a saying, it's not how you fall, it's how you get back up. It's been a remarkable journey with this team, and I think what we've achieved is just, it's mind-blowing, and it's going to take some time. I think still, it's going to take months for it to probably sink in, it usually is the case, because we just continue to move on to trying to raise the bar and focus on what's next. But I'm really proud of everyone and incredibly honored and grateful to be a part of this journey. You know, I'd been with McLaren since I was 13, so, you know, it was my family. And I was very safe there, but I think, you know, McLaren had this amazing history. They had multiple championships. They were super successful. And I felt that I wasn't necessarily helping build something. It was already an illustrious team. It already had all that success. It had the biggest cabinet of trophies. And I wanted to go somewhere where I could help, I could be a part of building something. You know, when I joined this team, it didn't have many trophies in the cabinet. You know, it was on the way up. It was growing. It was building. There was more people coming, and I was like, I want to go somewhere and see if I can utilize everything I've learned on all these years, the privilege of working at McLaren. Can I apply those learnings to a team that's not being very successful to becoming successful? And that for me, for sure it was a risk. For sure there was moments I was like, geez, I don't know when I'm going to win again. I had to really analyze a lot of, you know, the pros and cons. But for me, taking the risk, I mean, if you're not going for a gap, you're not, you know, Senna used to say, if you're not going for a gap, you're no longer a racing driver. I think if you're not taking risks in life, then you're standing still. And so I could have stayed there. I mean, in hindsight, you look at, if I had stayed, I wouldn't have another championship to my name. I would still be one-time world champion after 14 years. So, you know, things happen for a reason, one way or another. I'm really grateful that I took that step. I took that leap of faith. Probably losing my first world championship in 2007. Leading the race in China to then putting it in the, you know, in the gravel and not being, you know, losing. And then the following domino effect of losing the world championship after that. That one was a really hard one to swallow, and I think I took it very personal for a long period of time and didn't really know how to digest it. It was such a shock to the system. But I think the failures really are what build character. You know, there's a saying, it's not how you fall, it's how you get back up. I'm so grateful that it happened. Whilst, of course, I would love to have that world championship, I think I was able to turn that negativity and turn it into a positive. And it's naturally the lessons from the actual race, but more so the repercussions and then the emotion and the kind of the turmoil that you can go through. Learning about myself, just, you know, how I deal with failure. And I think probably from that, and maybe someone's after that, is learning that you can't change what's just happened. Yes, you might not be happy with it, but all you can do is change what's ahead of you, or try to shape what's ahead of you. So now when I have failures, it doesn't take me, I'm not stuck in my hotel room for 3 days, not being able to deal with it, not knowing. I'm able to move on straight away. I think I had to really just continue to keep my head down, not giving up, and believing and trusting in myself. And when I joined this team, everyone said, this is the worst decision I could ever make. Your career's over. And we've just won 7 world titles. So yeah, I think me growing up, I think naturally I started racing as a kid, so all I could think of was having fun, enjoying myself. But as I got signed when I was 13 and I started to realize, you know, the work that I needed to put in, whilst trying to finish school, but also delivering on each weekend and not taking it for granted. Yeah, particularly at the beginning when my dad was working crazy. Of course, as a kid, as a 10-year-old, I 13-year-old, it was difficult to understand because I'd not been in the working world. It's difficult to understand how difficult it was for him, but I could see how stressful it was for him when he would come home. I could see how tough it was wearing on the family, from the little that we had, from the weekends that there were weekends that we couldn't compete because we didn't have the money to race. So I could see that, and so I knew that when I did have the chance, I needed to knock it out of the park. And I didn't always do that, but I do more often nowadays, so it's good. I think I've always been someone that has hated to lose, but I've somehow, I don't know, I can't really explain how, I've managed to find myself on the other side. So I love getting to the end of that race first, and that the happiness of that lasts a lot longer than it ever did before.